Well, talking about today's headlines, when the Black Plague, which is, the most deadly thing, as a matter of fact, if you really study it, the top historians, Oxford, Cambridge, Trinity, University, all admit that the infrastructures of most countries stayed exactly intact, even monetarily and so on. So what we have today is one of the biggest farces. I mean, everybody knows that, right? This is nothing more than a house flu. It's not that I'm against, taking precautions, far from it. But at the same time, let's keep our knowledge of history alive as well. That even in the worst moments of the Black Death, basically what we would now call infrastructure and services remained very much intact. So it didn't overthrow Europe in that sense, right? Nor did the Hundred
No.
Years' War or any of these other catastrophes. So yeah, fear is the key. Remember, you got this little thing here back here called the limbic brain. Watch out. That's your enemy, and your enemy is the masses in a state of mass hysteria. It's not the coronavirus. It's people's reaction to the coronavirus. Mass hysteria is the first and foremost threat to anything. That's what you're up against. The panic of people who want to be in panic, who have never been alone, never been still for 15 seconds. Can't, I need to get my fingernails done. I need to get my hair done. I got to read those magazines. I got to get, their whole life has been 100%, like these millennials, right? They'll be climbing the walls. That's why this thing will fold up pretty soon, because the mass of the world being what it is the meter I use to know when a thing, how long it could, it will last, because they're just going to go ape shit within, next week or so. And so the government will have to find some cure, because the demand is people are extroverts, and cooping them up in their own houses. They'd rather run in the streets. If you watch, Herzog's Nosferatu, they'd rather gather in the people right now would rather gather in the streets and gather in the squares and catch the fucking disease than stay home and be, self introspective. So go figure. Where is the real plague? Self murder. The hatred of the self is the greatest pestilence on this planet. And the government know it, so they'll wrap this up pretty soon, because the greatest threat is of man having to face his own, aloneness. Silence? Fuck, we can't have any of that, Thought, introspection? No. And anyway, don't forget, there is no new world order to come. They've had it for years. It's already in place. Everything that people conceive that the new world order people or the global government want has already been in place, folks, for hundreds of years. There is no future. All there is, further streamlining and polishing. But the CFR, right, have already locked you down mentally, in your education, in your knowledge of your body, in terms of economy. Your money's fucking worthless. You know what I mean? Half the world is still in abject poverty, right? There's no aspect of their agenda that still is to come. I can't get it through people's heads. Alex Jones and all. Look, Alex. Whoa,
Hysteria.
they've done it, pal. It's over. It's past history. They're not doing anything with our currency or money. There's nothing to come. They've already got you using plastic. Everything's already on a system of utter, what, tell me what more they've got to do. So, but what more they do is fear porn. And they've got millions and millions of people who fall for that as well, who want to disseminate that, the Gerald Salentes and all these other pukers, right? So yeah, you can fall in that, or you can, huh?
Just a quick comment about, when they talk about this with the carbon and the hysteria around the climate, I say, are you gonna plug the volcanoes too? Yeah. I mean,
chop down all the trees.
Like the comets.
Look what the volcanoes spit out. This one on Iceland. I think I saw some kind of it was like 50 years of total world consumption of like carbon dioxide or gases and stuff. Those. There's so many aspects you need to bring in to the equation.
Hundreds.
Well, so Michael, just a quick question then. When you're saying there's nothing to come, would you look at this then as just maintenance? This is more of just maintenance. Yeah. Keep everybody in fear. Yeah. Keep the next thing. It's just the next thing.
Yeah. And it's all. But I'm a big believer in also that you should speculate, and keep. Don't take my words and say, well, it's all over. Forget it. Still speculate. I like the speculation. I want to hear what Molyneux's got to say. I want to hear what Paul Joseph Watson's got to say, and I want to hear what all these voices. I can handle it. Because I'm not traumatized. I don't give a fuck about them or their system. So, right. I can I'm in myself. They can fuck themselves, right? And see, these are the pestilential ones. They're the ones that are really diseased. All the people at the top of the pyramid. I'm not. You are, right? So go do whatever you want to do. Synvitus dance, mass hysteria, mew like a cat. It's all been done in history, right? Mass hysteria is the norm, not the exception. But the thing is, still be open to what they're saying, because here's two scenarios just very quickly. What's happening now, right, is tantamount, it's close to the idea of the law of the jungle. Because if people are in survival, if people are moved into their limbic, then we can hit the streets. We can start, ransacking places that do have the food, and and that'd be the law of the jungle taken over, right? But when you have filled our streets with immigrants, in this normal applied rule of the jungle, it's not just going to be Westerners who are going to hit the streets and say, I'm taking what, I'm going to go to the nearest rich guy's house and take the fuck what he's got in his fridge, right? We have now armies of immigrants who are already feral, folks. The law of the jungle is closer to them running the streets and taking us out than we would do it in order to survive. There's still a bit of logic in what you're going to do, animalistic as it is. It's understandable. But they flooded out Germany. Look at all these things that Merkel has done. Doesn't it make sense now that if for the group that want law of the jungle, they've just got the perfect to unleash upon the West, somebody who hates every single structure of the West? So I look at that and go, that's an interesting speculation. Then you got Vernon Coleman saying, hey, it's an attack on the aged. And on, and we're not going to go into it, but on and on and on. And listen to all those things, because it's tuning you in. And listen to when people are talking about the limbic, so that you learn about your own structure, and you can watch your own panic, or you can watch your own, movement through that whole thing. And how okay are you with letting go? How okay are you with drinking tea, like Jocke is saying, and a couple of slices of, pasta or whatever? Can you live on just some potato soup? And also then look at, it's very important to review how the structure itself, your business, the hotels, the services are thin. It's sometimes important for us to get a window into how superficial and kind of weak some of the structures, and that may make tomorrow, so when this is over, some people might become a lot more self-reliant. Hey, you know what? It might make a lot of people more interested in holistic medicine to collect, and start stocking up on things like that. And, so you can't tell where it's going to lead and what effect it will have on other people. And you can't also know about how the government will do it. So there's collateral, right? There's the main thing, and then there's the collateral, usages. So there's maintenance. But don't forget that every so often, I've been saying this from absolutely day one, every 5 years, let alone 20 years, they've got to pull the rug a lot. And especially with the new millennial. The millennial has never had World War. The millennials had nothing but actually good times and rock and roll and disco and parties. So it's about time. It's actually on their calendar, really. I'm not surprised that this came under Mercury retrograde and when we're moving through the sign of Pisces. I'm not surprised. I would pick, if I was them, I'd pick this time as well. Because the millennial also needs to sort of ground and wake up the fact and say, it's not all going to be lattes. Starbucks is closed. What do I fucking do now, right? Commit suicide.
There could be a silver lining to this.
Travel. And all that.
Like what you're saying, Michael, in a weird way, people weren't paying attention as much to the big global scale of things. We were having all these little debates in society not long ago about whether or not we should have national boundaries and actually enforce them, whether or not we should do certain things with the economy or not. Because even think about the globalized economy, that this was what we were pitched, right, in the forever. And then the first panic was, China's crashing and they're the world's big distributor of all these resources, so that's going to collapse the entire global economy. And it's like, well, why were we so reliant on that setup? If we were insulated within our own nations, the way, you see Trump trying to do in America and whatever, then you could still get through it. And so in a weird way, all these debates we've been having with these cultural Marxist types and these young millennials and these protesters and the whole thing was about, we need to throw out everything with Western civilization. Well, now you can't go to your restaurants, your bars, maybe the internet will shut down for a couple, who knows what's going to happen. And so in a weird way, this is a time where humanity gets to focus and go, you know what? We actually did have it pretty good. What was I out there bitching and complaining about? Like, maybe we should be grateful for some of the things we have. And yes, maybe there's a chance now that when things come back online, we can make better decisions and make some changes and kick out some of these corrupt assholes who left us completely open for this attack.
Well, briefly, I agree with everything you said. And briefly, I would just say this, that you're right. Trading with the enemy used to be illegal. Trading with China, to me, is still illegal. Good news is there's nothing that Japan can't take over in China in about 2.5 seconds, right? They got higher IQs than anybody else. They're favorable to the West. They're capitalists, and we should always favor Japan. And Japan has had the plug pulled on them since before the First and Second World War. How they even want to work with us after the treachery we've done to that country, and Thailand the same, yeah. My message always is never ever think that in moments like this, these hot points, that the government is doing anything special. The government is always working against you. It doesn't need, it hasn't marked its calendar. Hey guys, get together on, in March 2020 and we're going to do something. They're always doing something. They have already done it. They've undermined every right that you could possibly imagine. We don't need to go into it. So this is nothing special. This has appealed to mass hysteria. And as I said, every 5 years, they do need to pull the rug to keep you in this limbic mode. That's the starting point. Then you can break down, the rest of it. But again, working with China is trading with the enemy, a very serious enemy. And therefore, Japan should have been favored with all of the production of medicine and things like that. But they don't want capitalist countries who have a very high IQ to prosper any more than they have the American economy and the American person prospering, or Swedish. So we've had all the socialists in who want to downplay the IQ, keep it low, keep us in a slave labor, work with countries, that won't excel. Because if Japan excels, then the whole world excels. You see, Italy right now and places like that, there's a third world level. So most of Europe's countries are third world, apart from Germany and the others. But a lot of the other countries we think are first world, no, they're not actually. Greece, Italy, these countries are not first world anymore, by and large. There's been such, reduction. So we've got to really think about that. And Sweden is heading quickly for a third world status. It already is. This will all fade away because of the simple fact that the ordinary person is ultra or hyper, whatever term mega extrovert, and you can't keep them caged up, right? And the government know that. So always think absolutes. When trouble like this happens, people do get traumatized, but immediately ground yourselves by thinking as the government thinks, as the big boys think. Do you really want law of the jungle? And if they did, they could have had it long ago. They're just not going to start that now. Think of all the incremental levels to get to where we are now. Those have been funded at the tune of billions since after the Second World War, and they've gone very, very incrementally slowly. So the government itself that's put all that effort into getting us to where we are now is not going to, let it explode and unfurl in the last, few minutes. So get sane and realize, just hold on a bit. The tram is going over some bumpy stuff here, and just hold on as it turns the corner. And kind of enjoy it, just be a spectator and watch it, but never think that the government know how far to push the West. They're never going to push it past a certain point. I've been saying this for years. This is where me and Alex Jones and all these other people, as much as we have in common, we don't agree on this level because they've already got you where they want you. There's no further chains or gulags or black helicopters or fucking, incarcerations or any of that stuff. They've incarcerated your ass. Number 6.
Well said.
I'm just worried about one little detail about this virus is that my concern about the older people dying, because here in Sweden, the older people are like the same people here now. At least the people I see that are rising up to a lot of issues here.
That's right.
And open their mouth is the older people. So now, if you're gonna have like a sweep of these older people that are there to guide the younger people in the first place, if everything shuts down and people gonna become much more closer to their family and they're gonna need this. So that's my worry about this entire situation, that the older people die and leaving all those millennials headless, so to speak. Because
could have been targeted, yeah. Could have been.
That's a big impact, Yeah. Our grandfathers has a bigger impact on us than we might think.
But isn't it amazing that in Europe, let alone Sweden, they can shut the borders now over this? But hell, they couldn't get it together when the invasions of the Syrians and all is taking place. But suddenly, overnight, you see them acting. And here's Sweden, allegedly the most charitable country in the world when it comes to immigrants. Let me see them bringing, supplies to the old. Let me see. Let's, as I say, observe. I'm saying to people, the more maniacal things get, the more stoical you must become. Stoical with observation. Let's see Sweden the great philanthropist, the great socialist experiment. Yeah, feed your fucking old people now. Give them some bloody rights. And let those old people who also voted for a lot of this socialism, let them now, sorry to have to say this, but facts are facts. Let's see your country now supply your needs in a time of trouble. Because, maybe it's comeback time. It's payback time. You're the guys who bought Christianity. You're the guys who bought the worst kind of socialism. Did it work for your country? Is it working for you now that you fed all these other voices, fed all these other mouths that don't even deserve to be in the fucking streets? So
it's
Sweden,
so
it's pay up time.
You should see. I think we have like 5 or 10% unemployment rate on those. There's only 5 or 10% that actually get to work after this program here in Sweden. The companies here, they just inherit it. They don't. There's some kind of, in the common sphere, we just do like we always have been doing. It matters how you look, if you say so.
Well, my rant didn't seem very stoical, but the essence of what I'm talking about is stoical. Observe. We didn't write any of these rules. They did. The system said we're going to be this, and everybody followed on. Right. Now, see how it works. I've always said, come back 10 years, see how it works. That's what we're doing now. We've come back in 10 years, and we're saying, hey, Sweden, we're calling the shots. Hey, Germany. Hey, Britain. So sometimes we need that. Sometimes, the Mercury retrograde can work on many levels as well. As you said, there can be a silver lining. And don't forget that ever, ever, ever. But when it comes to your own personal survival, yeah, you gotta, that's always a limbic thing. And it will. Your brain will go there for a while. So watch it, and you might panic buy and you might get really worried and everything like that. So observe that process. It's part of spirituality to observe the pain. We were just talking about that with the Erasmus and Sophie. Where's the pain? Shit, why is that hurting so much? It shouldn't, right? So the pain is directing you to where there's a weak point in your life. It's the same with the psyche.